Good morning and welcome to the problem of being awake. My name is Ben. I want to talk about an issue that seems to be polarizing the Western world at the moment, and it is racism. And I'm going to approach it from a very different angle, which is the absurdity of it. So, racism is being used and misused on almost every occasion it's now used. People are being told they're racist if they believe a certain thing, or they like a certain person, or they're a certain way. You really can't call someone a racist unless they've done something or said something that you can clearly point to as a racist thing, because racism is an internally held belief. It is an individual thing. The idea of systemic racism actually is a 0 point game, because you have to prove, if that's true, you have to prove everyone in that system is racist. Every single one. Not a majority, every single one. So when people are now trying to go back and rewrite history, bigotry, which is the fear of the unknown and therefore the unfair persecution of the unknown, goes back to our roots as apes. Different tribes of apes scared other tribes of apes. It's fear of the unknown. It then went into the Mesopotamian Empire, which was our first empire. It has been involved in every single empirical structure, every Soviet structure, communist, Marxist. Everyone has internal beliefs. But most people actually have the belief that Martin Luther King has. That you judge somebody by the merits of their skin color. Now, we can't go back and erode history, because it's there to teach us where we went wrong. Because if we're going to do that, we have to go all the way back. All the way back. And we're talking 4,500 years. So you need to know your history entirely before you can call history racist. You need to know how America was formed before you can call it a racist place. You need to know how the English Empire, the good and the bad of it. And you need to be able to articulate your argument, because you cannot say that everybody was racist. I mean, the most ridiculous thing was a guy at RADA who was on a George Bernard Shaw scholarship. He was a black guy, and because George Bernard Shaw had owned slaves, this was in the early days of cancel culture, they wanted to remove him from the school that he founded and the scholarship that still comes out of his estate that was paying for this man who was protesting to have him stricken from the records. What's the irony there? He had a couple of slaves in a time when everybody did, and it would have been abnormal if he didn't, and possibly dangerous when you think about society. If you had a certain amount of money and you didn't keep up a certain appearance, people would start to think you were dangerous. And in a world where you could be killed if people thought you were dangerous and nothing would happen to you, that's a very dangerous game to play. So our skin pigmentation is only in reference to our distance from the equator, in reference to our ancestry and a lineage of time going back 10,000 years, is an estimate for Homo sapiens. And warring tribes in Africa was the first sign of bigotry and what you would now call racism. But they were all black. We were all black once. But the further away people got, the different their skin pigmentation changed, which is why you have the more Latin and the more Norman and the Anglo-Saxon. Further away from the equator, paler the skin. Very simple equation. People call it racism, and the person who invented that word took ethnicity, which means where do your people hail from, and turned it into a word that could be weaponized, used against people. Now, if you call somebody racist, they better have done something racist or said something racist. Otherwise, you have no right to make that assertion on that person whatsoever. A group cannot be racist, because you'd have to interview every person of the group and confirm that to be true of all of them. An institution can't be racist. A country can't be racist. Inanimate objects like statues cannot be racist. They can reflect a time in history where racism was more prevalent, although I would say at the moment, really, racism is the most prevalent today when it should be the least. If you look around you, I know it's true of England and America, and it's true of a lot of mainland Europe. You have the most eclectic mix of ethnicities around the globe. In England, we are multicultural. Our capital city is not white dominant at all by any means, but there are more black people living in London than there are white people. Why not? It's good. You know, we integrate in that way. There are problems with integration in other ways, but that's separate from racism. That's a problem with ideology and integration. But racism itself, you cannot throw this accusation around. You can't throw it at institutions. You can't blame it for things that didn't go well in your life, because there's so many examples, so many critical examples of people who've overpassed and surpassed their own expectations, and who have achieved, despite all disadvantages, a very good life for themselves. A great example is Yeonmi Park from North Korea, who's written 2 books I recommend everybody should read if they want to know what it's really like to feel oppressed. But the woke left, they turned on her when she didn't want to be a victim. And that says it all. Racism is not the answer. It's not the way to win an argument. It's only the way to start one and keep one fueled. And on that note, I'll leave it there. I hope you've enjoyed the video. Please do like and subscribe if you do. And you be lucky today, I'll be good. I'll see you soon.